In this video, I'm going to be going over exactly how you are going to take 50% rev share as a growth operator. Okay, this is going to be one of the most valuable videos that you will ever watch if you are a growth operator or you are thinking about becoming a growth operator, because there is so much BS floating around the space with a ton of inexperienced people that are putting on this persona of professionals that know how to operate a business and know what goes into scaling operations. Okay, so in this video, share this with your friends if you think it's valuable. Do not skip this, save this, comment down below, and we're about to get into this. So, if you guys do not know who I am before I get into this, my name is Preston Rhodes. You might have seen me on TikTok. Let me find my hero journey somewhere over in here. Let's go. So, 2 years ago, I was in college, University of Cincinnati, and I was working an internship, right? So this is me, this is 2 years ago, and I was a business operations expert at a blockchain startup, real estate company here in Cincinnati. And I did this for a while until I realized that as a business operations intern, their operations sucked, right? And so what did I do? I started a business being a systems integrator or doing operations as a service for online service providers. So here is me then in college when I started this business, speaking in front of a ton of different students, paid on behalf of the school to help students and to actually get my experience early on. Not paying for PR, this was all in the news here in Cincinnati, where I'm from, in Ohio, and I was in a frat room, as you could see, Beta Theta Pi. Some of you guys, if you are in the growth operating niche, you're probably in college. Very similar situation as you see here. Look at that little, one bedroom in the frat house to then moving downtown into my own apartment and scaling my high ticket offer, right? And so if you guys are thinking, well, you're not a growth operator, what are you talking about? I am blessed to be friends with Eddie Cumberbatch, Renzo Guevara, all of the younger guys in the space. I'm actually one of them, and my niche is operations, automation, and scaling businesses. Okay, so this is why this is relevant. And so here is me scaling my operations as a service business. This is before growth operating ever came out. And essentially, I was able to build my own paid community and integrate my systems into it. So as you can see here, then I went ahead and traveled, moved into a penthouse, went to London, spoke at the Go High Level Summit as an affiliate panel speaker, right? So a lot of you guys probably use Go High Level, you know what it is. Went to Tokyo, Dubai, and I also average around 600,000 views on TikTok talking about infrastructure, systems, Zapier automations, ChatGPT. You probably see my face somewhere, and I thought that I had to finally speak on this topic because I pretty much do growth operating, but without online communities. I help online service providers like coaches, masterminds, groups, online agencies. But the good news is, what I'm going to walk you through here in a second, communities are the easiest thing in the world. There is no fulfillment. The actual community itself is the fulfillment. So as long as you can pretty much automate the entire onboarding process and management of the community, you're going to be set. And so this is me, this is myself. I make around $40,000 a month. I'll leave this as well in the link down below. If you want a copy to this, just DM me on Instagram for proof, screenshots. You guys can look me up. All legit, right? So back to this. So how are you actually going to take 50% as a growth operator, right? So right now, this is who you want to be, right? You want to be Mark Cuban, taking 50% of businesses. But the thing is, none of you are Mark Cuban, right? And so the option for all of these creators is the $5 an hour Philippine VA in Fiverr. And this is a subject not many growth operators talk about because of the structure of a revenue share that these guys with no experience, no money, no connections at all in the space are trying to come in, talk to somebody who has a successful business that is failing to monetize on the community side and take 50%, right? So what is going to separate you from being a commodity, from a $5 an hour VA on Fiverr who has more experience than you probably do. I mean, I was looking on Fiverr. These guys are crushing it. $5 an hour. So what is going to make you Mark Cuban? Okay, well, first you have to realize why you're not Mark Cuban yet, right? So 99% of you have absolutely zero leverage in growth operating. And trust me, I'm breaking you guys down to build you back up. So this is going to be insanely valuable. You guys are going to be DMing, asking for assets, all this stuff by the end of this call. So you guys have 99% of you have zero leverage in growth operating, except for, right? You got Eddie. Eddie has leverage, right? What does he have? He has reputation, network, money, and brand, right? And so he just brought up the Pierre guy, which now I'm talking to about helping me scale and helping this exact system right here. Talking to him right now. What does he have, right? So right now he has brand. So he's the only one really crushing it out of the entire group publicly. And now what is he doing? I hit him up. He has a brand. So these are the 4 things to obtain leverage. It's not sending DMs, cold DMs, right? It's not any of this stuff. 99% of you also have no profile picture and are scared to post and share about who you are. But 99% of you guys do not have a brand. You do not have 5-star reviews on Trustpilot, some type of reputation or case studies. And you do not have any network of creators or influencers who are willing to take you on for 50% revenue. And you don't have any money to spend on advertising, PR, or any type of assets that will make you look qualified to do the job, right? And so it's not a bad thing that you guys don't have this, because I'm going to show you one area of leverage that will allow you to, it will overtake all of these, right? And it is exactly what I do for a living. And it's what I do with my clients, and it's what we charge upwards of $20,000 to do for businesses. And I'm going to give it to you guys all for free in this video. Okay, so it's called growth operating for a reason. And I've seen nobody focus on this. You guys are focused on cold DMs. Is that operations? No, that is sales. You guys are focused on, reaching out to all of these creators, building a logo, building a website, building an Instagram page for yourself. None of that is operations. That is all sales and marketing. And it's called growth operating for a reason, because you're going to be operating the community. And so everyone always overlooks operations. And frankly, that's why I've been able to capitalize so much on the opportunity of doing operations as a service, because everyone's worried about the sales script, the cold DM script, the marketing ad, the ad copy, the next strategy, the next viral hook. But nobody is focused on infrastructure, tracking sheets, KPIs, right? Big words that you guys probably really have never heard of, but you want to know what they are, because all of these things go into operating a business, right? So you need systems, you need no-code tech, you need Zapier automations, you need all of these things, which I'm going to show you, right? And so it leads to you guys being like this, right? So everyone, all thousands of these growth operators, I get hundreds of DMs a week, are really putting on this face. You're like, oh, growth operator, but everyone really is crying on the inside, because they realize that they have not had proof of concept yet, and that it's this dream that's been built up. But I don't blame you guys. You have no experience, and that's why you got into growth operating. So I'm not here to tear you down. I'm actually here to build you up, okay? So this right here was the only part I went with images, all this stuff to get you guys hooked. I provide assets, values, links, and it's pretty in-depth of what we're going to go over. But before I go into this, you're going to need to know what goes into operations. So I have pretty much scaled an entire operations as a service, and we've created our own framework. We worked with over hundreds of clients within our Done For You and Done With You program. You can look me up all over the internet, and you'll be able to find a ton of valuable information. So this is our scale framework, and this is how to systemize any digital business process. And like I had said with communities, all it is, there's no fulfillment. It's literally just onboarding and management of the community, right? So what do we need to do? We need these 5 things: scale, systemize, right? Consolidate, right? Automate, leverage, and evaluate. So systemize, we need to document the process. We need to have a checklist of what is going to happen. If we're going to build a team around this, if you're going to scale it to 100K a month, which is your goal anyways, you're going to need to build a team around it. As an operations person, you're going to need to have the systems for it, right? So It's not just, oh, set up this, community and get 50%. It's not that easy, but it can be easier, right? With the right systems. So we systemize and then we consolidate everything. Where's the data about the group members? Where's the data about the subscriptions? Where are the notifications going for new members and for new support requests? We need to consolidate this stuff. All right, automate. What happens when someone has a failed payment? Are we automating a $1 payment link to rebill them, right, to their email every time a payment fails? Or are we, anytime somebody fills out a customer support form or has some type of question, is it going to a Slack channel and sending to somebody automatically and notifying you guys, right? So we need to automate the growth operating business model too. And then we have leverage, right? So we need to leverage the right tools. A lot of you guys don't even know what tools are going in. Tools are the biggest part with the growth operator, which I'll show you all the tools here in a second. And then we have evaluate. A lot of you guys don't know the metrics, right? So it's like if I'm gonna hire you as a growth operator, the only way I'm going to hire you, I'm gonna say, what KPIs are you tracking, right? How are you tracking lifetime value? Can any of you answer that question right now? Hey, yeah, I will give you 50% of my business. Just tell me exactly how to track lifetime value of the customers in the group. Boom, lost 99% of you guys. So it's important that we have these things, right? So hopefully I've burned that into your brain now. So what we need in order to build an entire infrastructure to be able to be qualified enough to get 50% of a creator's online or paid community are these exact things. I break it down. We have forms, sheets, assets, tools, Slack channels, and Zapier automations. All of these play a key role together. So first, let's go over the forms. So inside of a community, you're going to have a payment form, right? And so usually this is done natively inside a school, or if your creator's not using Stripe, it's done in a unique way through some type of payment form, right? So we have that dialed in, 99% have that dialed in. The next thing that we need is a onboarding form, right? If you want to join a community and I want to be in one that lasts, I want to know that they're taking in my information, they're knowing who I am, right? So you're going to need a onboarding form that is hosted inside of the welcome message inside of the community, right? The next thing that you're going to need is a world-class onboarding call, right? I've joined programs and there's no support. And this is something you got to consider with your creator, or consider your creator hiring someone to take these, because the best communities have a community support representative, whether it's yourself, whether it's somebody you hire. And this person should be taking onboarding calls to make sure people get in, get access to everything, and get their questions answered. So you're going to need an onboarding call calendar that is linked as well in there. And then you're going to need a community support form. So what happens when somebody has an issue? A module is locked. Instead of asking a question in the community that's unrelated to all the discussion in the community, you need a way to intake support. So you need a support form. The next thing that you need is a subscription cancellation form. This is if school is not doing the native payments for you and you have a unique way, or your creator's like, we don't use Stripe, you're going to need some type of form so that people can fill it out when they want to cancel their subscription, right? And then the next thing that you need is a feedback form, because what community is going to grow if you don't get feedback from people and you're not measuring the feedback? So you also need some type of form to put into the modules as an asset for you to collect feedback. And I know you're probably thinking like, oh my God, all this stuff, it's so boring, right? But this is what operating is, right? You're a growth operator. This is operations. If you don't like operations, then get out of this business, do something else, right? So the next thing we have is testimonials, right? How are you gathering testimonials inside of the group? Well, we need a testimonial form as well, and we need some type of incentive to do testimonials, right? So maybe we have a locked module inside the program, and every time the incentive is to get access to this locked module, and every time that this form is submitted, we want to know to add that person to that module. Well, as you'll see here soon with that automation, it can automatically do it. So every time someone submits a testimonial, they get access to that module, right? And then we have wins. How are you collecting wins, right? This is sometimes optional, but You could have a form for before weekly calls. Everybody, before you join the weekly call, has to submit this win form. And what happens now, you are collecting so many more wins, right? Because we have a back-end system with automation. I'll show you. You can just store these wins and use them properly and leverage them in your marketing and sales. Okay, so these are all of the forms, right? So if you want access to these forms and these assets, let me know. I can DM me on Instagram or click the link below this video and I can get this to you, right? And next thing you know, all you guys are going to be having a crazy success with this. So the first thing is forms, right? So that's super important. Next thing we need is tracking sheets, right? So this could be one big sheet with sheets inside of it. So you're going to need to track for your your creator all of their new payments and payment details, all of their new members and what they put on the onboarding form and their information. You're going to need to, and this is consolidating, you're going to need to consolidate all of the onboarding call recordings, right? Are we recording these calls? Where are they going? Are they being added to a sheet, right? And so don't worry, none of this is going to be manual by the end of this video. All of this stuff is automated, right? So it's an entirely automated infrastructure that's going to blow you guys away. Where are you storing the community support tickets? If someone has a support request, and they ask in the program and then you answer, then delegate it to the creator, he helps out. It's like, all right, well, build a system around it so this never happens again. Okay, so we need to be able to have something to reference to see all of the previous support tickets and the status of them as well, right? So we're gonna need a sheet for that. And we also need a sheet for subscription cancellations, right? We're gonna need a sheet for that. We're gonna need a sheet for community feedback. Where is this feedback gonna go to? And then we need a sheet for testimonials. Where are we gonna store these testimonials? And so at the end of the day, your creator should have a Google Sheet they open up with 8 sheets inside of it where they can track their KPIs of payment details, member information, onboarding calls, community support tickets, cancellations, /churn, feedback, testimonials, and wins, okay? So you're gonna need a sheet for every single one of these, and as you can see, a lot of the forms are similar, and with automation, we can zap these forms to the sheets so you don't have to manage the KPI sheets manually, okay? So the next thing is going to be software. As a growth operator, what software do you need? This is every single tool that you need, or your creator needs, or both of you need. The first one is School, self-explanatory, right? The next one is Stripe, right? Or another payment processor. Third one is Google Sheets. And if you're a pro at this stuff, you're already somehow an operator, Airtable, Notion, but start with Google Sheets. Then we have Google Forms, right? If you're a pro, Typeform, Jotform if you can afford it, but a lot of you guys are beginners, so Google Forms. We're gonna need Slack, right? I mean, a community at the end of the day is a business, so we're gonna need to communicate about it in shared channels, which I'll show you over here. We're gonna need Gmail. We're gonna need Zapier to automate it. We're gonna need Google Drive to store documents, recordings, informations. We're gonna need Vimeo to turn those into links that we can put into the school program. We're gonna need Instagram, right? YouTube. We're gonna need Zoom to host the calls. We're gonna need Fireflies AI to use AI to summarize the calls. We're gonna need Calendly to book and schedule the onboarding calls. And then we're gonna need Google Calendar to view the status and cancellations, reschedules of those calls. We're gonna need Loom to record the videos, what this is recorded on. We're gonna need Scribe, very cool tool. If you guys don't know and you are a growth operator, it's insane, look it up, Scribe. And then we're gonna need ChatGPT, as I'm gonna tell you guys about another secret way you can add a ton of value to the program. That's all you need. This is like less than $100 a month, right? Being a growth operator is super cheap. So with these tools, what do we need? So we're gonna need a Slack channel. The Slack channel is probably up there with one of the most important parts with the Google Sheet. Google Sheet, Slack, and Zapier are probably the most important parts. So if you don't know Slack, then you gotta learn it. I'm telling you guys, it's so easy to learn. Just go and learn it. You guys are operators, right? So you guys are gonna be tech professionals. So we have Slack channels. So you're gonna need an entire Slack workspace for your community, right? And it's gonna be internal, right? It's not gonna be for the community. It's gonna be about the community, but it's for internal discussions and notifications. So we're gonna need one for payments, one for members, one for onboarding, one for support, one for feedback, one for wins, one for sales calls, one for community, one for operations, one for content. And this right here is gonna be the only one that is shared with the people in the group, okay? So all of them are gonna get access to a Slack channel. Everything else is you, the creator, and their team. So with these zaps that I have over here, which are automations, you'll realize that every time we get a new member, it's going to add it to the sheet, and it's going to send us a notification so we know the information about the new member. Whenever we get an onboarding call, it's going to store it on that sheet. Then we're going to get a notification that we have a new onboarding call, right? Support, it's going to store it on the sheet, but we also get a notification that we got a new support request. And so this will eliminate you from the middleman communication with the community and the creator, because you're setting up an entire infrastructure where he's updated about new members, new payments, new churn, new support requests, new wins, all this stuff. You don't have to middleman that communication. This is what Slack is for, okay? So set this up now. If you guys don't have this set up, then the other growth operators that watch this are going to literally blow you guys away. So before we go into the automations, which are going to make a lot of sense to you guys after we win all this, you got to understand some additional assets that we need or your creator would need. So obviously a welcome video for the program, some type of onboarding calendar on Calendly, like I had said. We have drive folder structure. So you're going to need drive folders for some of these recordings, some of these assets, right? You're going to need a module that is private in the program that only people get access to if they submit a testimonial, right? You're going to need a custom GPT, which you can build on no code on ChatGPT, where you take the recordings from the modules and the transcriptions from the calls, and you put it into a custom GPT that then you give the community members access to. If they have any questions, they want to use an AI that's trained on the entire program, right? So if you guys want to know about this stuff, please follow me on Instagram. I'm not going to go too in depth on that one. Follow me on IG and follow down below. I'm going to be making more of these videos. Next thing is we're going to need all of the assets, docs that are inside of the program that your creator has. We're going to need to do one of two things. We're going to need to put them into one consolidated drive folder with proper naming convention, or we're going to need to take the links to the assets, and we're going to need to make what's called a forced copy of it, right? So instead of having a Google Doc, let's see here, sorry. Instead of having a Google Doc, right, like this, you can actually just go to the very end of it, and you can just edit the edit, and it'll be copy, and then when you look it up, it'll be a forced copy, right? So now you don't have hundreds of people on a document. So like I had said, sorry, I don't know what is going on here. You are going to need community assets template in a drive folder. So be like, hey creator, all your assets that you have in this program, like checklists, Google Docs, please put them into a folder, because that's going to go into these automations. Or you as the growth operator, anyway, if they're in the folder, you're going to ideally take the forced copies and use those as the links in the program. So that wasn't too important. Everything else was. Now we get into the actual systems, right? So this is going to be a speed run. I mean, this video would be hours if I walked through every automation. If you don't know Zapier and you're a growth operator, I'm sorry, but you will not have success. As a growth operator, you need to learn Zapier, okay? And Zapier is a if this, then that tool, completely no code, building automations with Google Sheets, Stripe, School, Calendly, Google Calendar, Slack, all this stuff, no code. So this is the actual infrastructure itself. So we have, every time you get a new payment on Stripe, we're going to automatically add those details to that sheet we were talking about that you need. And then we're going to send a message in Slack to the new payment channel about the new payment with that data, right? So now we're notified every time we get a new payment. New customer, right? And I don't know how you guys are necessarily tracking rev share. So now it's like, well, I don't have access to their Stripe. Hook up their Stripe to a Google Sheet. Now you don't need access to their Stripe. It's coming into the Google Sheet and you control the automation, right? So we have new payment, Stripe to new row, sheet, new message in Slack. Then we have new customers. So every time that we have a new customer, we can create a drive folder for that member, and we can get those the Google Docs that were in template format I just talked about, and we can automatically copy those documents and put them into their own drive folder as soon as they sign up. We can then get the shared link for it, and then we can add it to our creator's sheet so that they have access to the new customer information and the link to their own folder. And then we're sending a message in Slack to the creator, letting them know we have a new customer with the information about the customer and their folder. And then we are adding the member to Skool automatically if it's not already doing that, depending on what you're using, whether it's the native payments or a different type of payment. And then we're sending a welcome email to the new customer, right? And in that welcome email, it's going to be, here's your onboarding form, here's your onboarding call calendar, here's the steps to get started, right? And so that is what goes into the new customer. Then we have onboarding forms submitted. What happens when they submit the onboarding form? We're going to create a doc from text, put that information about the new member onto the doc, get the shared URL, add that URL to a sheet with the information about the customer and their onboarding information, and then for the creator to have. And then we are going to send a message in Slack to the creator with the information about the customer that they just submitted with the link to the sheet. And then we're going to actually go ahead and send a message in Slack as well to our community chat with all the other members, introducing automatically the new member with like their IG, the stuff that they put in the Google form. So I mean, this is probably blowing you guys away right now, but that's exactly why you need to study this. You need to get in and learn this stuff, because I built a multiple six-figure business at 21 years old in less than 2 years doing this, literally building infrastructure and doing operations as a service. It wasn't until I saw Growth Operating take off with Eddie that I was like, yo, I could pair, my same skill sets and help your guys just learn how to obtain more leverage as a growth operator. So you got to study this stuff. If you haven't seen my TikTok, go binge watch it. It's all free value on automation. Next thing, what happens when they book that call? All right, we're going to need to add a row to the sheet about the call with the status of the call. We're going to need to send a message in Slack to creator letting them know there's a new onboarding call, and then send an email to the person who booked it letting them know we've received your booking. Next thing, what happens when they reschedule? In Google Calendar, we can trigger then to update the row in the Google Sheet with the status of the call saying rescheduled. So now if the creator opens up this Google Sheet, they're like, let me look at all the onboarding calls from the past week. They can see that it was rescheduled. But not only that, they're getting a Slack message too. So they're getting a notification that it was rescheduled, right? Instead of just seeing in their email, now this home base you've built in Slack with all of these channels, with all these assets that are inside of the program, with the back-end KPI sheets and tracking sheets, that's pretty much what your creator is referring to when they want to see data about their paid community that you're running for them. You're going to need some type of way to automatically get this information in there. And think about it right now, compared to what all you guys are currently doing, how are you showing the metrics to your creator about their KPIs, right? Where are they going if they want to access information about the success that you've done in their community? Are they just looking at their Stripe account? Because that's not good enough. You're not going to be able to they're not going to keep you around, right? And what happens when that contract for whatever percentage you've agreed on is voided because they've decided that it's not up to par with you're not giving them accurate updates about the actual metrics inside their business that they should be tracking? That is your responsibility as a growth operator, right? So what happens when we have a new call recording in the group via Zoom? Everyone records the calls. We can automatically get the transcription from AI, then upload it to a Google Drive folder, the recording, then we can get the URL for it, then we can add it to a sheet where the creator can see all of the previous call recordings, and then we can send a message in Slack to the creator too with the link to the recording from the call that they can reference, and the link to the sheet where it shows all the other ones, right? Next thing we have is support. So what happens when they fill out the support form, right? It adds a row automatically to the Google Sheet that we just talked about. It sends a message to the creator or to yourself or to the team letting them know new support ticket with the information about it and the link to it. And then it can send an email automatically back to the customer letting them know that you guys saw it, right? Same goes with this. New call recording. A lot of times you take the Zoom recording, you go to your files, then you go to Fireflies AI, you get the link for it, you put it in Drive, then you upload it to Vimeo, like all manually. This is all done automatically, guys, right? Every time there's a new Zoom recording, get the transcript in Fireflies, upload it to Drive, get the shared URL, upload it to Vimeo, add a row to a sheet, send a message in Slack. All of it is automated except for putting it in as a module. That is something that we cannot automate with the capabilities in Zapier with Skool right now, but obviously in the future. So what do? We get 90% of the way there. Hopefully you guys are still following me here. Next thing, when we have these feedback forms that are throughout the program, asking for feedback, every time it's submitted, it'll put it on a Google Doc, get the link to it, add it to a Google Sheet, the same master sheet your creator is looking at. If you guys are confused, your creator has a master sheet with 8 sheets inside of it. One for new members, one for payment information, one for feedback, one for call recordings, one for all this stuff. And it is auto-populating with data automatically throughout the engagement of the customers being inside the program. But it doesn't work unless you have these assets set up already. It doesn't work unless you have the sheet with the columns, knowing what data that you want to track in it, right? So this video would be 3-4 hours long if I went over and showed you guys all this stuff. And then the forms, you need the forms. So what values what's gonna be on the onboarding form? What questions are you gonna ask? So you need to have the onboarding form, you need to have the sheet, and you need to have these assets before any of this is possible. But you can see the vision, right? You can see the master sheet that your creator can reference to see metrics about the current health of the community and events that are happening inside the community, like support requests and calls. And then your creator is receiving, they're not only going in and looking at this as they please. Anytime an event like that also happens, they're receiving a notification about it in a proper channel, where then you guys can communicate about that support request, about that call recording, how it went, about the feedback that was submitted. And now you can communicate about the data that has been sent into a specific channel just for that data, where you, the team, and the creator can now converse about the automatic notifications that are coming in. So keep in mind, once again, I mean, you're not gonna learn this stuff overnight, but please, if you are growth operating, know that this is the key to success, right? Being able to build an infrastructure, set up these automations, set up these systems, these assets, know what you're talking about, be able to show this to a creator. I'm not even a growth operator. If I was a growth operator, from this video alone, I could probably get 5-10 clients that are like, okay, out of every growth operator I've seen, this guy actually knows business operations, and he's going to solve every single bottleneck in my business through systems and processes. So I don't want to make this video too long, but like I had said, with the scale framework, it's all about systemizing, consolidating, automating, leveraging, and evaluate. So leveraging is the right tools, right? So we went over that. Evaluating is the tracking sheets, metrics, right? Consolidating is the Slack channels, right? Consolidating information, and it's also the sheets. Leverage, you could also say, is AI, like I had said with the custom GPT we can go over in another video, or if you guys are interested, just DM me. But these are all things that go into the paid community infrastructure, and without this, then you really have nothing except for Loom videos, a Stripe account, and ChatGPT in school. Like, you literally have none of that infrastructure, and it's going to be so much harder for you to obtain leverage as a growth operator and not be the $5 an hour Fiverr person. Because what you guys are currently doing is the same exact thing a $5 an hour Fiverr person is doing, right? So what I just showed you is Mark Cuban level status as a growth operator. If you can learn how to operate a community like that with systems, processes, the whole scale framework I just showed you, you are Mark Cuban. A $5 an hour VA cannot do those things, is not able to conceptualize that these things are needed, doesn't understand the correlation between the Google form, the Google Sheet, the Slack channels, and overall the entire flow of the infrastructure. And that is why they are on Fiverr doing a la carte work. Like, I'll build your videos, I'll write the copy for the descriptions, I'll set up the artwork for it. That is all stuff as a growth operator you should be hiring the $5 an hour VA people for, and you should be turning what I just showed you into a copy and paste system that every new creator you run through is going to get immediate access, almost like you automate what I just showed you for your own business the next time you take on another creator, so that you can actually scale. Because you're going to need to turn this into a copy and paste system to do to the next person. But first you need to master it. But what I'm telling you is that in order to not be the $5 an hour VA person and to be someone who doesn't have a brand, who doesn't have clients, reputation, doesn't have a network, or doesn't have any money, and who's currently feeling like this because they feel like they've just been sold on this dream that's not possible, but it's just because everybody was focused on the wrong thing. It's operations, and it's amazing. I love operations, and hopefully a lot of you guys do too. If you are an operational thinker and you can combine operational thinking with sales, it's the most dangerous and deadly thing in the world. So if you guys are interested in learning more from me, right, check out the rest of my videos here on YouTube. I'm trying to post more. Go to my TikTok. I have 47,000 followers on TikTok. I have a ton of videos going over this stuff. And then DM me or follow me on Instagram. I post tons of assets like this all the time. And if you want the exact link for all this stuff, DM me as well. I do have my own community as well, but it is business to business, right? It's not B2C. I don't teach how to do operations as a service to sell to other businesses. You guys are already doing growth operating. If you classify yourself now as a business and you see value in learning more about these systems and you are officially ready to invest in that, then by all means, let me know and we can get you in there. It is a private, exclusive community. It is higher ticket. It's not a monthly payment, and we have only business owners in there. But no worries. If you're just here to consume all this, then just no worries. I can send you over some more free stuff. But hopefully you like this video. If you are in a community of growth operators, maybe you gatekeep this, maybe you don't, right? Maybe if you have some friends, send it to them. Get the word out, start focusing on ops, okay? And thank you so much for your time. If you're interested in anything, just click the links down.